They, the Soviets, intend to induce the Americans to adopt their own restructuring and convergence of the Soviet and American systems. They will use to this end the fear of nuclear conflict. Convergence will be accompanied by bloodbaths and political re-education camps in Western Europe and the United States. The Soviet strategists are counting on an economic depression in the United States and intend to introduce their reformed model of socialism with a human face as an alternative to the American system during the Depression.
Said Mr. Dodd, all of us that have a hand in the making of policies here have had experience either with the OSS during the war or the European Economic Administration after the war. We've had experience operating under directives, and these directives emanate and did emanate from the White House. Now we still operate under just such directives. Would you like to know what the substance of these directives is? I said, yes, Mr. Gazer, I'd like very much to know. Whereupon he made this statement to me, namely, Mr. Dodd, we here operate on in response to similar directives, the substance of which is that we shall use our grant-making power so to alter life in the United States that it can be comfortably merged with the Soviet Union. Well, parenthetically, Mr. Griffin, I nearly fell off the chair.
We see the headlines, the political drama, the endless cycle of crisis and conflict. But behind the noise, a new world order is being born, not by accident, but by design. It's a world of hidden connections, of relationships that span decades, crossing enemy lines, linking politicians, spies, and the architects of global finance. Today, our investigation goes deeper. We will follow the threads that connect Vladimir Putin to Xi Jinping, to Benjamin Netanyahu, and to Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum. But we will find that at the center of this web, there the giant spider lies. There is one man who connects them all, a man who has had the ear of every major world leader for over 50 years. Henry or Heinz Kissinger. We will uncover the ideological blueprint for this new world order, a doctrine born in the ashes of the Soviet Union. We'll expose a direct documented link to one of history's most powerful banking dynasties, the Rothschilds. And we will ask a provocative question. Was Henry Kissinger simply a diplomat? Or was he the most effective, most influential intelligence asset in history, operating in plain sight, wearing a suit, and welcomed at the highest levels of power? This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is the story of the grand chessboard. Part 1. The Doctrine. To understand the New World Order, you have to understand its foundational text. It's called the Primakov Doctrine, named after this man, Yevgeny Primakov, a ghost of the Soviet Union, a spy master who became Putin's mentor. In the 1990s, Primakov laid out a blueprint to restore Russia's power. Its core tenets were a direct challenge to the post-Cold War American-led system. 1. End the unipolar world. Russia must be an independent power in a multipolar world. 2. Aggressively oppose NATO expansion. 3. And this is the key, create a strategic triangle of Russia, China, and India to counterbalance the United States in Eurasia. In later episodes, we'll link the collapse of the Soviet Union and the 1990s and Primakov with, of course, the perestroika deception and New Lives for All by Anatoly Golitsyn. It'll all fit together very nicely. So that strategic triangle was the seed, the idea that would grow into something much bigger. Today we call it the BRICS. What started as Primakov's vision for a Eurasian alliance has now become a global bloc, actively creating financial systems and trade routes to operate independently of the US dollar and Western control. BRICS is the Primakov doctrine made real. It is the engine of the multipolar world. We'll see currently how President Trump is going after India. There's a reason for that. It's not just China. And of course, in the background, we have Israel. That's another story all its own. We'll get into that later. Part 2, the philosopher king. Every grand strategy needs a philosopher, someone who understands the deep historical forces at play. For this network, that philosopher was Henry or Heinz Kissinger. But to understand him, you can't start in the White House, you have to start here. Kissinger was a German Jew who fled the National Socialists. His worldview was forged in the fire of a world gone mad. This experience is crucial. It led him to a dark, pessimistic view of history, a view shared by other German Jewish emigre thinkers like Hannah Arendt. It's the philosophy that captured by the title of a book written about him, The Inevitability of Tragedy. Kissinger believed that the natural state of the world is not peace, but a chaotic, tragic, and inevitable competition for power. Idealism, democracy, human rights, these were luxuries. The only goal was stability, a balance of power. Order, even at the cost of justice. This is the key that unlocks everything he did for the next 70 years. Look at the images, Kissinger and Putin, a relationship grounded in a shared intelligence background. Quote, "All decent people got their start in intelligence," Kissinger told the former KGB agent. I did too. Kissinger and the leaders of China, a relationship spanning over 50 years and more than 100 visits. To this day, Chinese leaders from Mao to Xi Jinping call him their, quote, old friend. Kissinger and Benjamin Netanyahu, a relationship that goes back decades, meeting again and again to discuss the fate of the Middle East. Putin, Xi, Netanyahu, three leaders of three rival powers, all with deep, long-standing personal relationships with the same man, an American statesman. Is this just diplomacy? Or is this something else? Is this the work of a master operator, a spider at the center of a global web, playing all sides to achieve his vision of a new, stable, multipolar world order, an order he helped design? Part 3, the Israeli pivot. To see how this network truly operates, we have to look at its most complex and surprising node, Israel. A nation with deep, contradictory, and powerful links to all the major players. The story begins with a historical shock. The state of Israel would likely not have survived its birth in 1948 without the support of the Soviet Union. The USSR provided crucial diplomatic backing at the UN, and through Czechoslovakia, the weapons that allowed Israel to win its war of independence. That relationship soured during the Cold War, but the connection was never truly broken. It was reforged in the 1990s with the collapse of the Soviet Union. Over 1 million Soviet Jews made Aliyah, emigrating to Israel. It was a demographic revolution that transformed the country to its core. As one journalist for The Guardian put it, quote, "Israel didn't become the 51st state of the US. Instead, we have become just another Soviet republic," end quote. These immigrants just didn't bring their culture, they brought their minds. The number of scientists and engineers in Israel doubled almost overnight. The massive influx of human capital is what supercharged Israel's high-tech defense industries, turning it into the Silicon Wadi we know today. It created a permanent Russian-speaking bridge between the modern state of Israel and the post-Soviet world. And that technological prowess attracted a new superpower, China. Today, China and Israel have a, quote, innovative, comprehensive partnership. Chinese money is pouring to Israeli tech startups. Israeli technology, from AI to agriculture, is helping build modern China. This has become a huge point of friction with the United States. RAND Corporation reports warn that Chinese investment in Israeli dual-use technology and critical infrastructure poses a major security risk to both Israel and America. Israel has become a geopolitical pivot, a technological powerhouse with deep organic ties to the Russian world, a strategic partnership with China, and its foundational alliance with the United States. Part 4, the Old World Order. So how does this new multipolar world with its complex web of relationships connect to the old world of money and power? For that we return to the smoking gun. Gerhard Schroeder, Putin's closest ally in Europe, the man who pushed through Russia's Nord Stream pipeline, and immediately after leaving office, the man who took an advisory role for the Rothschild investment bank, The link is explicit and documented. It's the bridge between the new geopolitical order and the old financial one. This is a map from 1581, the Bunting Cloverleaf Map. It shows the world as 3 continents: Europe, Asia, Africa, all revolving around a single center, Jerusalem. It's a symbolic vision of a multipolar world with a central sacred pivot point. For centuries, thinkers have tried to identify the world's true center of power. Geopoliticians like Halford Mackinder called it the, quote, heartland, the vast expanse of Eurasia controlled by Russia. He who rules the heartland, he argued, commands the world. The Primakov doctrine, the rise of BRICS, the complex web of relationships between Russia, China, and a technologically vital Israel, this is the modern battle for the heartland. It is the construction of a new world map, a new multipolar reality. Conclusion. The Grand Master. Primakov's doctrine provides the blueprint for a multipolar world, and BRICS becomes its engine. Israel, transformed by 1 million Russian speakers, becomes a technological pivot point, forging deep ties with both China and Russia, much to Washington's alarm. The Schroeder-Rothschild connection shows how old European financial power integrates with the new geopolitical network. And at the center of it all, the one man who has spent a lifetime talking to all of them, sits Henry Kissinger, the man shaped by the inevitability of tragedy, who believed stability was the only achievable goal. The great irony is that Henry Kissinger, the ultimate American statesman, spent over half a century building the very bridges that now connect the key players of a multipolar world that challenges American dominance. Was he a diplomat pursuing a cold, realist vision of global stability? Or was he the grand master of a global chessboard, patiently moving the pieces for 50 years to create the exact world he believed was necessary and inevitable? A world where all the powers are balanced and no single one can claim supremacy. The lines are blurred, and perhaps that was always the point.
Well, you could argue that the identification of socialist and revolutionary is not a very good identification. You could well argue that a capitalist society, or what is more interesting to me, a free society, is a more revolutionary phenomenon than 19th century socialism. And this illustrates precisely one of our problems. I think we should go on the spiritual offensive in the world. We should identify ourselves with the revolution. We should say that freedom, if it is liberated, can achieve many of these things.